Hey, be a squid and subscribe to my mediocrity. Alright, what's going on everybody? Today we're going to be going over Agris Fever and Aakman. This has been probably the best grind session I've ever had, to be honest. And as you guys remember, I talked about Aakman earlier, I think last month or something, and I was like, it's a good spot, it's decent, and obviously it's actually like 10 out of 10 top tier spot. But the reason I say it's like decent is because for me, I can't exactly like super clear the mobs like a witch or you know, any of the classes that have it a little bit more easier to grind and stuff. So I actually have to work for a living here, but that's besides the point. Anyway, I made an upgrade earlier in the month and I bought a Ogre, so that boosted my AP to about 241, and then I completed a couple Bartoli's log, which put me at 242 now. So that was really interesting. So now I can grind a little bit faster. Obviously it's not a huge increase to the point where, oh, I'm speed clear or anything like that, but there's definitely a noticeable difference. I actually went here without church buffs this time, and I just used a Villa buff and a Cron meal, and I was clear, and like it was just it was super speed. It was super nice. I was able to actually withstand the mobs. I still brought drainings just so I didn't have to be like super pot heavy with, like, you know, having to pot every 5 seconds and whatnot. For a 2-hour grind session, I ran through only I think 150 pots and about close to 200 WP pots, so that's actually really not that bad, considering that I think when I'm at trees I blow through both of those like every like 30 minutes or so. Anyway, so let's actually talk about the trash loot with Aakman. So this grind session, as I mentioned earlier, was phenomenal. I made about 137 million, which was just absolutely phenomenal, bro. The shit is super good. So obviously we're gonna have to subtract a few things out of that 137 million because there's just gonna be a couple things that aren't gonna sell. Like the 3 red shards I got, these will never sell. They are basically the equivalent of getting fucking nothing. I would also probably subtract the compass part as well. It's just one of those pieces that don't really sell. It will eventually sell, but most people know their way around the desert pretty easily, so they don't really need the compass part either. I think noobs typically buy this, which is fine. It gives the part a little bit of a market value, but at the same time, you're probably gonna have this thing on the market for a while. If anything, I'll just put it up for sale, and if I ever get a couple more pieces, I'll probably just make the compass and then just use it for a couple days just to make my getting around in the desert easier. But overall, the compass part and the red shards are pretty much the equivalent of getting nothing. Then I picked up a map piece, which is worth 1.2 million. This typically does sell, but once again, this is not exactly super great in my personal opinion. You'll be sitting on it for a little bit. I would honestly just use this over anything else, so I don't even care to sell it because I think it actually has use value for myself. So typically when I pick up a map piece, I actually use it, so there's that. And for the trash loot, we ended up with 10,600, which is absolutely just very good for me. Before, when I was at Aakman, I think I pulled in my previous video, I think it was around 5k trash, and that was within 2 hours. So this time with 2 hours on top of, you know, it's the same time, right? The 2 hours basically, an Agris and a loot scroll piled on top of it, as well as a little bit of, you know, faster clearing and whatnot. I was actually able to double my trash loot previously from when I was 235 and I was only using like a food buff rotation, church buffs and stuff like that. So Agris Fever, I think I used 30k Agris, which is 10k for 30k Agris. I'll definitely take that. It's a super easy grind, clean as fuck, and that equates to about 79,500,000, which is huge just for trash loot. Then the big boy scrolls, which is the ancient scrolls written in a fucking shitty language or whatever the fuck it's called. I got 20 of those, which is actually really nice. Typically I pull way less than that whenever I don't use a loot scroll, or I don't know if Agris plays a part. I don't think Agris plays any part to scroll drops or just item drops in general, but either which way, scroll drops 20, that equates to 32,600,000. I'm selling them for 1.63, so obviously Depending on your market, this will vary, of course. And then we got 2 BMCs, which equate to 6,420,000, which that's, you know, whatever. These are going to sell regardless. I mean, it's fine. Anyway, the grand total minus, or I don't want to say minus, but just the grand total in general is 137,290,000, which is nice. Now, Agris essentially is just going to change the game of farming. This is going to be one of those situations where you're going to have to make the call whether or not to use Agris or not. In my personal opinion, I don't think I would appreciate using Agris with like small increments, right? Like if I had only 15,000, I don't think I would want to use it. I think 30k was the sweet spot for me to pull 10k trash. Until my AP is a lot higher and I can clear Aakman more effectively, 10k trash for 30k is definitely where my comfortable spot is. If I can't pull 10k trash with Agris, I feel like I'm just wasting it and I should just save it for, like, you know, a day where I just want to go all out and have a huge grind session. So Agris will stack up to 75k if you've done the quest and stuff like that. And if you haven't, it's like 50k. So for those of you that have Agris, you're just going to have to make that decision whether or not you want the quick gratification of money, or if you want to have patience and have a huge grind day where you just have a massive payout. Either way, it's essentially the same thing. It's just one is instant and the other one is over the course of a couple days. So if I wanted to use 30k Agris, right, over a course of 2 days, I just basically do, you know, Agris, you know, Monday, Tuesday, whatever, and it'll essentially be the same thing. I'll pull like 5k trash, 6k trash with Agris and basically be fine. Now, as for other spots with Agris, I'm going to be testing these spots over the next couple days and see if you can actually bring, or not even bring, just breathe some life back into certain spots, because I feel like there's a lot of dead spots that just aren't even worth going to. Like Manshums, I'm going to talk about that in a separate video, but like Manshums is dog shit. It's one of the worst grind spots in console BDO right now, and I can't recommend anybody going there. But as I said, I will talk about that in a separate video. But maybe Agris at some point might be able to breathe some life into that spot, but we'll get into that later on. But for something that's a little bit more realistic, like let's take Pilaku or Gahaz, stuff like that, I feel like you could benefit more heavily from these spots, considering that if you're a lowbie, right, these spots have valuable, you know, drops there, like the Pila Face scrolls. Not to mention they also drop green grade gear that you can break down for armor stones, and not only that, you can consume them for stacks. So either which way, you can find possibly more value in these lower end spots with Agris Fever. Maybe you can turn something like, let's take Waragons for example. I've done that spot before without Agris, and I think my profit from the trash loot was roughly around 15 million. So judging with that, adding Agris to that whole trash loot, we could probably double that and turn it to 30 mil, which makes that spot a lot more viable to grind as a lower end player, assuming that you can clear decently, of course. And this can be the same situation for Polys or, you know, Ronaros, which I think these two spots both very lackluster. I don't think they're super top tier in terms of grinding, but once again, if you can double the trash loot, especially Polys, given the fact that that place has a lot of skill point value, so if you can kind of kill two birds with one stone, that makes it a lot better realistically. And since Kafras are not out, Polys has basically zero value other than leveling up your skill points. However, if you can go to Polys, pop Agris, walk away with 40 million in trash loot while also walking away with like 50 to 60 skill points in about 2 to 3 hours, maybe 3 hours probably stretching it, but I would actually be pretty okay with 40 million for 2 hours out of Polys given its current state at the moment. So that's actually not that bad. So I don't know, we'll see over the next couple days how Agris plays into some of these spots, and I'll make sure to go over everything. But as of right now, Aakman with Agris is super nice. It's probably the quickest grind, especially for a person like me that does not have necessarily the proper clear speed to make Aakman viable without Agris. I mean, it's okay, like 5k trash in 2 hours. It's not the best in the world, I understand that, but it's okay. I can still pull roughly around 90 million with, you know, BMCs and Pila Face scrolls and the trash loot. So the Pila Face is what carries Aakman. As long as you can get a bunch of the scrolls, it makes up for the lack of trash loot. So that's the way I see it. But the fact is, if I can clear faster, that means more trash loot. Imagine somebody with like 2 80 AP, comes here with Agris, pulls 20k trash. That's just insane. They're out there one tapping the mobs or just super clearing the mobs, so they benefit way more effectively than I would. So that's just the important part. If a shitter like me rolls up to Aakman and pulls almost 100 mil in trash, a person that's not a shitter is gonna absolutely decimate this place and turn a huge profit. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.